What did your ex ruin for you? Marriage, pregnancy, trusting others to provide support. After 25 years of marriage, I never want to do it again. I was the breadwinner, mom, leader, everything. I'm too exhausted to do it again. As a child in my youth, I dreamed of having those pregnancies where the man is happy and touches your belly and bonds with the baby. He acted like I was repulsive. Didn't help in any way. He never bonded even after they were born. We had two in the beginning of our marriage when we were only 18, 19. I thought having two more later in life would be better, but it was the same 10 years later. I genuinely feel robbed. I love my kids, and they're amazing. As I sit here going through menopause with adult children, I just feel so empty and sad because it will never happen for me. I hate myself for giving him all that time. Why didn't I leave? He missed out on some incredible moments. She, on the other hand, created 4 amazing humans. That's a win in my book. Story 2. It took me a solid 4.5 years to realize I was self-sabotaging myself during talking phases with a woman. I couldn't figure out why I could be myself but never got the feeling of deep connection. After a lot of self-reflection and a little bit of self-therapy, I realized I was comparing everybody to her. Like subconsciously thinking they're going to ruin my mental health and take away my peace the way she did. So I never got too close. I had to borderline train my brain to know it's not fair to that person to compare them to somebody they have nothing to do with. They aren't that person. They won't do that to you. After that, for the first time in years, I finally felt something again. I felt truly vulnerable with somebody like, I'm ready for this. Story 3. You know how some words stick with you forever? When my ex said, I think I would find it easier to overcome my commitment issues if you lost some weight. It shattered a part of me I didn't even know was fragile. Even though I know it wasn't really about me, those words take time to let go of, and in a way, he did ruin that for me. Story 4. I told my children to find their happiness as individuals and never settle for anything less than the best. Even if that means they'll never find it, that's okay. Create strong, healthy friendships that are like family that treat you well. I'll travel as and explore life as much as possible. Too many childish adults out there with zero comprehension and being a committed and healthy individual, let alone partner. I want my children to change the trajectory in their course because I apparently couldn't when choosing my poor life partners. Story 5. My peace of mind. She insisted upon commenting and criticizing everything I did. Nothing was ever right or enough. I spent the last 2 years getting her voice out of my head, and I'm finally getting comfortable with myself for the first time in years. It's gratifying that her life fell apart after she left me, but I'd trade that satisfaction for those years back. Any day. Story 6. Trust. I can write a whole 3 pages of all the crap he has done to me. He would lie all the time. I was so insecure and scared I would go through this phone all the time because I was worried he was cheating. Never stood up for me when his parents or someone we didn't know would talk down on me. Oh, and he broke up with me when the best friend he told me not to worry about got a divorce from her wife. He broke up with me and tried to get with her. So a lot of trauma has moved on to my next relationship, but it has gotten better. Story 7. Football. I'm from the Southeast United States where football is a huge part of most people's personality. The team you pull for says a lot about you. I graduated from Auburn and always watched all the games up until about 10 years ago. I was married to a narcissist who was a high school band director, and it was absolutely mandatory that I attend all games. Didn't matter when we had small kids and that he didn't have the time to help me wrangle them at a football stadium because he was working. I was expected to be there. If I ever missed it, I would get the silent treatment for weeks. Eventually, I lost all love for the game, just resentment. Even now that we're divorced, I can't seem to give a crap about it anymore. Story 8. He ruined my 2 cats. They were brother and sister. I found them abandoned by their mother when they were just a few weeks old. My mother and I bottle fed them. My mother owned an Amazon parrot who loved the cats and groomed them. The cats loved him too and actually would sleep in the bottom of his cage sometimes. I taught them to ride in the car with me. They loved sitting in the back window. When we divorced, he took the cats just because it would hurt me. And my mom. And the bird. They all missed them so much. I only saw them one more time, about 1 year later. They were so obese. It was sad. I was sad. I know this was not the intent of the question, but he really did ruin them. Story 9. The nightmare before Christmas. When we got married, we got matching tattoos. I know, dumb idea. And I paid dearly for it. When we divorced, his mistress, her new girlfriend, paid for him to get it covered with a half sleeve of Jack and Sally, and she got the same piece. Meanwhile, I decided to go back to school and was struck staring at the ugly original piece I had, planning out my cover up when I could afford it. But them getting the matching nightmare tattoos irritated me because it was one of my favorite movies and he knew that. Story 10. Cooking. He would spend 3 hours cooking dinner and guilt trip me if I made plans with friends. He even guilt tripped me for going to the gym after work. He literally wanted me to sit and watch him cook for 3 hours every night. My clothes always smelled like food. The walls and ceiling had oil residue. Everything in the living room was covered in oil. You could even wipe it off and see the difference, but he would gaslight me and say that no one else had this problem, so I'm making it up. Our grocery bill was almost double of a family of 4, for just us 2. He would consistently make food I couldn't eat due to food sensitivities or it would be too spicy. Then would act like a victim if I didn't eat it. But I made it less spicy for you. It's better this way. He added ingredients that made me sick. Needless to say, I was sick or hungry a lot because I would just eat it or pretend to eat it to avoid the drama of his sensitive ego. When I would cook, he would tell me I was cutting vegetables wrong, cooking in the wrong order, and straight up wouldn't eat it because it wasn't his taste. The most I cook now is an egg or turn on the oven for something frozen. It feels so free. Sounds like he was more interested in being a chef than a partner. Story 11. He ruined acts of service as a received love language for me. He saw how much the little things meant to me and used them to make me fall in love with him. It was the hunter and I was his prey. And he used acts of service to secure his position to take the shot that ultimately killed the person I used to be. I cannot trust someone who washes my dishes or folds my towels. I cannot trust the person who holds the baby so I can shower. Help is no longer love to me, only a means to an end. Story 12. The idea of growing old with my first girlfriend. I always thought love was forever, so I was shocked when my high school sweetheart wanted a divorce. And even more shocking was that she slept with her boss that was twice her age. Now they're together and making babies. I'm thankful for the fact that we didn't have kids. It probably would have ruined their lives as well. Story 13. She went behind my back to all of her friends and family to try and convince them that I was mistreating her, leading up to a divorce or custody battle, including filing a bogus DV claim. Only one person from our former friend group asked me about it instead of just siding with her in advance. I was then forbidden from talking to me by his wife. I haven't talked with anyone outside of my work colleagues in the last 5+ years. Story 14. Financial transparency. There wasn't enough money to replace the broken kid transporter with something used and modest, nor was there enough money for tuition or daycare for me to go back to school. But there was $180K in a checking account I didn't know about until we were splitting up. Schmuck bought himself a sports car and a motorcycle in the meantime, too. If I ever find myself in that kind of relationship again, I wouldn't be caught without my own earned money. Never, ever, ever fall for the, you be a stay-at-home and I'll take care of the bills. It's only temporary. It's a trap. Don't do it. Story 15. Weather reports. Feel like I'm healed from everything, but I cannot tolerate watching the weather. My ex used to turn on the TV to watch the weather while she got ready for work. There was a TV at her work that, at a minimum, had a weather report on at noon. After work, she would watch the weather report on the news at 5, 6, 9, and 10 p.m. She also checked weather.com for the computer throughout the day. It was years before I even checked the weather. Sometimes I checked their quick summary, high and low temp and precipitation forecasted, on my phone because my work is affected by the weather, but I simply cannot watch a TV weather report anymore. Story 16. Star Wars. I was never a huge fan to begin with, but I liked it. I later found out he cheated on me with a We Are Only Friends girl and found a Star Wars love card with lots of puns and hearts in it with a welcome to the heart side phrase. Yeah, since that moment, my mind automatically rejects anything related to Star Wars. Oh, and their wedding was Star Wars themed with lightsaber battle instead of dance, and her walk down the aisle was also Star Wars themed. Story 17. Trust. Some people are unreliable and even downright unhealthy, but they know how to show several faces and manipulate people. In reality, what you experience and what you say as a couple can be repeated to third parties by obviously giving only the pieces the most interesting by obscuring a good part of reality. The goal being to find a sort of glory or victimization therein. In short, it is better to be alone than in bad company, and the less said, the better. Story 18. It's a stupid one, but My Hero Academia. I actually wanted to get interested in that anime, but my ex is absolutely obsessed with it and would try and drag me into all their AU crap and talk about it all like it's canon. They also just went and watched it all without me, despite the fact that we were watching it together, and proceeded to spoil a load of it for me. So now I have no intentions on ever watching it. Story 19. Cheated. Pretend our son is ours, got DNA about 12 weeks after he was born, found out he wasn't mine. I chose to stay in his life and with her. We split up when he was 2 and then she took him away. Even though I was all he knew and the biological dad gave me parental responsibility. Went to court and they only gave me 1.5 hours a month with him. I spiraled into depression and had to walk away. I see him sometimes as he lives next door to my dad. My ex was my neighbor. She moved back into her family home. I play over the fence with him when she isn't around. I don't think he remembers me as his father anymore. He knows me by name only now. Story 20. The saying, love conquers all, and trying to help people who are depressed. No matter how much love, patience, and understanding you have, you can't help someone who doesn't want to help themselves. No matter the time, they told me I just didn't love them unconditionally. Enough is enough. Still helping people who are depressed is right, just don't empty your cup trying to fill theirs. Know your limits. Story 21. I'm lucky. I've had a few gray loves, all exes. My first long-term girlfriend. Never loved someone like your first love. She absolutely ended me when she broke up with me on Christmas because a female friend helped me pick out her gift. I cried every day for 3 months. I lost 40 pounds. I was melted to nothing and reforged with metal. She ruined the idea of loving and not holding back. My second great love, the goddess. Never fought. She was amazing to simply hang out with. We broke up because we were still too young and couldn't move the relationship forward. Our lives were going in different directions. She ruined the idea that love can be enough. She's great, though. I wish her the best. My third great love. So smart, so capable, so duplicitous. All my friends hated her. She stole from me. We broke up. Months later, we got back together. Then she cheated and didn't want to tell me. A good friend found out and forced her to. That was the absolute end. She ruined the idea that you can work through anything. My last great ex-love, magnetic personality, intimate dynamo, lightning arcs between us. We were better people together than we were individually. With her, I sang. Unfortunately, she was never really mine. We stole moments together. It was not to be. Maybe in the next life, we said. She ruined the idea that timing isn't everything. It is. Timing is everything. Story 22. I don't want future partners to sleep over anymore. I gave my ex a key for emergencies only. Like if I got locked out or if I'm staying late at work and needed someone to check on my dog, R.I.P., she would be over all the time. Even though I stated over and over and over and over again to not enter my home without me inviting you over. Kind of how you give a trusted neighbor a key. My neighbor, my ex, and my parents had a key, just in case. She would misuse it. I'd come home from work and she'd be sitting on the couch, eating my food. She would stay for days on end, even after I asked her to leave multiple times. This one time I came home after dinner with my homies and she was hiding under my bed, grabbed me by the ankles as a joke. I don't know how long she was there. I literally showered, cooked, and ate my food. Because of this, I don't want anybody, even future partners, to stay over. Sounds like she had a key to his heart and his pantry. Story 23. Intimacy. The furthest I've gone is a hug. It's almost been 2 years. It's hard to explain. I crave intimacy, of course, but when it comes down to it, I literally cannot do it. I don't know how else to explain it other than it grosses me out. I can't even watch kissing scenes on TV. It really grosses me out. I've been considering going to therapy over this because it extends to emotional intimacy as well. I find that when people try to get close to me or share intimate things, I don't know how to react in a way that fosters connection anymore. It used to come naturally. Now I get very uncomfortable and almost go silent. I don't know how to connect with people anymore. Story 24. I struggle with giving and accepting physical affection. In my last relationship, he was really needy and didn't respect my boundaries. I couldn't even eat a meal with him at home on the couch without him bothering me in some way or changing clothes around him without him coming over. We were together for almost 10 years. The worst part is the next guy I dated did the exact same thing. I told both of them I didn't like it, but they couldn't seem to help themselves. Combined with other crap I've dealt with other men, it really made me feel like men were incapable of controlling themselves or not making me feel guilty for wanting space. Now I feel like I'm not an ideal partner because too much physical touch makes me recoil. I am in therapy, but there's been a lot of damage. Story 25. I know it sounds stupid because most people are talking about emotional trust and stuff, but he ruined my habit of trusting that men, or people in general, actually clean themselves well. My husband is so clean, but my ex before him literally left streaks in the bed. I thought all grown adults knew how to properly wipe, etc. No, they don't. Now I don't trust used clothes, etc. because, people are really out here not wiping between their cheeks. Actual insanity. Story 26. Throwing caution to the wind. My whole life before him, I was an anxiety-ridden person. Always second-guessed myself. Said no to a lot of things that could have been great. The works. And I said yes to him, knowing damn well it was a rebound. Knowing damn well I'm not for relationships, but he reassured me and I was like, you know what? You never do for yourself. Give it a shot. 7 months later, he cheats. He was a good guy, just not a good partner. I learned my lesson and I'm still that anxiety-ridden chick. Story 27. A whole different level of vulnerability feels impossible to achieve with anyone else when your ex leaves for 3 months under the disguise of patient therapy, and uses those 3 months to not just cheat on you, but get married behind your back. Luckily, after 4 years, my current girlfriend is worth every second, and all my effort to give her that level of vulnerability I thought I'd lose forever. I still struggle sometimes with feeling secure and safe in a relationship, though, and need a lot more reassurance than I ever did. And I lost a great deal of confidence in myself. Story 28. Vulnerability. I was weakened for some circumstances, and at my lowest, major injuries from car accident, lost my job, couldn't pay my rent, lease was ending, depressed, etc. I was leaning on her for support, and in my vulnerability and trust, she exploited it. And so did my friend that pretended to care about me when she broke up with me, only to find out in a terrible way that they had been fooling with each other behind my back. I already had abandonment issues from childhood, but they became so inflammatory after that, I still don't know how to process pain like that, or grief, or trust anyone with my emotions. Story 29. Not sure what it is exactly that she has ruined, but she did something. She's the mother of my 2 children. We were together for a total of 6 years. It's been 3 years since the split. It was not mutual. Never is. Anyone who says it is lying. But she was with a new guy almost immediately. Like a couple months after she moved out, she was dating someone new. Currently engaged. In the meantime, I've just been chilling. I work almost every day just to keep the lights on. Phoenix is expensive. I go to the gym. Work, gym, home, repeat. Been doing that for a year now. But women almost never catch my attention anymore. Like, the appeal of dating is gone. Every once in a while, I'll meet someone I find attractive and charming at work or at the gym, but after a couple minutes of meeting them and that "Joey, how you doing?" feeling subsides, I just kind of say, screw it, never mind, not worth a squeeze, and move on. I'm just not interested in dating, even 3 years on. I've briefly gone on apps and swiped through the profiles and same thing. Ugh. So no more apps, no more dating. I would love to meet someone new and have the good happy ending I've been looking for, but I don't know if it's because I'm 38 or if it's genuinely the quality of dating pool right now, but man, people just seem exhausting and not worth pursuing romantically right now. So, work, gym, home, focus on loving and supporting my kids. Get my money up. Everything else is something else. So to answer your question about what she ruined for me, I guess dating in general. My ability to connect on a deeper level with women. My interest in sharing myself with someone else is gone, if not on life support. Story 30. I used to go out with my friends twice a month to karaoke. Literally the only social time I had at all because I have a pretty busy job and we raise a kid. Anyway, she got so jealous of me leaving her at home to do that. The first chance she got to go without me, she hit on and eventually fooled with a DJ who hosts the karaoke nights and shattered that friend group and our chosen hangout activity at the same time. Then got him to scream red jumpsuit apparatus in my face next time I went by, telling him lies about how I mistreated her and getting him all mad at me. Now I don't even really want to put forth the effort to build a new community. I'm too nervous she will find them and try to sabotage it because she can't stand seeing me happy and healthy with loving and supportive relationships. If you're enjoying the video, don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button for more videos like this. Story 31. Honestly, just my trust in having relationships with people my age, 20, is shaken. They're 21 going on 22 and I don't know, like it was just never real to them, or maybe there was someone else, or they got bored of me after a while. It was never really clear. They weren't mature enough to give me the full, honest version of themselves. They were just fake the whole time. Or maybe not the whole time, but it's worth wondering where the love stopped and the lies began. I was loved by the family. I was supportive of my partner through thick and thin. I was patient with them when they yelled at me. I showed up when they called. One day you realize that all it takes to be in love is wanting to be and willingly making the conscious effort to maintain that. It's easier said than done, but once you see life for what it could be, you can never take those glasses off. And you can never make anyone else put them on. In fairness, looking back, I could have seen a lot of it coming, or at least I would have if I knew what I knew now. I was the more mature one, but nonetheless naive. I'll know the real thing when it comes around. Until then, it's being single and buying comic books on eBay. Story 32. My self-esteem. Over the course of the last 7 years, she broke up with me 5 times. 3 of those she came back not long after. One took over an entire year, and I blame myself because she gaslit me into believing everything was my fault and discarded me. She came back, promised things would be different, and not being over her, I took her back. They weren't, and she discarded me again the final time. No one has ever treated me as awful as she did. Still rebuilding my confidence, piece by piece, but at least I can see clearly now the person she really is. Story 33. My ability to just be, to exist as a normal human with bodily functions. Context. My cruel ex would get furious if we were at an event or friend's house or out in the world and I wasn't where he thought I should be. This included going to the bathroom and not being available for him to show off. It would then hurt me when we would get home. It's been over 10 years since I left that relationship. My current husband and I went to his sister's house to celebrate her birthday. On the way home, I said I had a headache. My husband asked how much water I've had, and I said I purposely didn't drink any so I wouldn't need to go to the bathroom and inconvenience anyone. His response was the logical one. Who the hell would you inconvenience by going to the bathroom? Then we stopped at a gas station and he bought me some water for the ride home. Story 34. She made me feel bad for wanting some time alone or with my family at times. Every single time in her case. Now, even though I'm much happier with my wife and she's much more reasonable, I feel the need to explain myself or justify myself when I want to have just a bit of time to myself. Even if I know she's fine with it. When I do have some time myself, I end up cutting it short and feeling guilty, even though I know I shouldn't. My ex would often use emotional blackmail, be it intentionally or unintentionally, because she was an anxious and very shy person. I'm neither of those things, though I'm no extrovert, and she grew to see me as a safety net and was mostly dependent on me. Something I didn't want, but I did feel bad, but I don't think I ought to have completely. It's not like I was itching to get away at any and every opportunity. She ended up ruining my brother's wedding for me. I was the best man and I ended up barely being able to enjoy any of it. Story 35. Music. I used to play music all the time. It was a core part of my identity. I loved playing the trumpet, guitar, piano, ukulele, choir, etc. My first ex was in a music program with me in university. I was a foolish young man, desperately in love, and she fooled around with some other guy at a party. I didn't know at the time, and then dumped me like a week later. She ripped my heart out, and with it went my desire to ever play music again. I just can't. Sometimes I grab a recorder and toot along with my kid, and I took a couple music theory courses and my comp-sci degree as electives, but I'll never be the same. That me is gone, and the living me is colder. Still lose myself in Zeppelin from time to time, though. I still appreciate music. I just don't want to ever play it myself again. Story 36. Loving myself. Everything I've done is for him and my kids, and he goes crazy if everything isn't perfect. Totally controlling narcissist. I forgot what it felt like to be myself. Be happy, feel proud of myself. In his mind, I should never be proud of myself because he's the one that works at his dream job. My mom got him and works 70 hours a week, so he's the best and I'm the worst. He won't let me get a job outside of our house because he thinks I'll cheat on him. I've never cheated on him or anyone else at 47. He should know this. Stuck in a miserable relationship. Story 37. We broke up on September 21st a few years ago. It's not a big deal anymore. Moved on, dating, pretty happy overall, and don't think about all of that too much nowadays. But the reason I cannot forget this date, probably ever, is because of that damn Earth, Wind, and Fire song. Every time I listen to, "Do you remember the 21st night of September?" I'm like, I sure do now, pal. And it used to be one of my favorite songs. It's such a bop, though, that I still listen to it from time to time. What can I say? Story 38. Religion. My ex was a manipulator who used religion as an excuse to call herself a good person, but she did so many things that contradicted her religious beliefs. Her mother was even worse. She full on used the word of God as an excuse to manipulate and control her daughter. They both, in the end, gave me religious resentment that I still haven't gotten over completely. Trying to grow from it even now. I'm agnostic and I've been that way for a while. I left religion outside of the bad taste my ex and her family gave me, but the resentment hasn't left. Now that I've acknowledged the issue, I'm hoping I find help for it eventually. At least my ex helped me figure out how to tell if someone's secretly a snake by how they act. Story 39. Being myself. Yeah, sure, I'm still the jokey, funny guy when I'm hanging out, but there's no one else I can really be myself around anymore. Also, my ability to find anyone else attractive. The thought of getting to know someone else just makes my stomach turn because I know I'll just be comparing them to her. But hey, I'm a man. I'll get over it, maybe. Story 40. Trust and willingness to commit. When I was 20, my first girlfriend broke up with me right before Christmas after I told her how I really thought we had a future together, and I was in it for the long term. I guess she didn't feel the same way, and that scared her off. My biggest regret was not cutting my losses and hanging on to that relationship, which caused more hurt than necessary. As a result of this, sharing very personal feelings makes me extremely uncomfortable. I'm definitely less motivated to be super romantic. Story 41. My belief in a loyal, loving, genuine relationship. I trusted him with my whole heart. I saw how quickly he changed from loving to hurtful. Alcohol was a big part in that. I'm afraid of people in general now. It was particularly damaging because my faith in people had been damaged and I naively let go and trusted him. I won't ever trust again. I will love and care about people, but Never let them close to my heart again. Too much, too many times. Story 42. Karaoke. I dated a guy for almost 10 years. In the end, I lost my job for 6 months. I struggled with finding a new one. I can understand not wanting to be with a struggling person, but instead of ending it with me, he started to go out for karaoke without me. It was his hobby and I had always gone with him and supported him. He told me that since I didn't have a job, I couldn't expect him to pay for me to drink or eat, and he needed to get out and have some fun. He met another woman who did karaoke, and after a few weeks of knowing her, broke up with me and moved in with her. I know I should blame him, and I do, but with so many memories of going to karaoke with him, it just makes me think of him, and I can't do it. Story 43. Let's see. Various things from different relationships or situationships here. Building PCs, video games, Dodge Challengers, corgis. And most of all, the belief that anyone will genuinely love me and also want to see me and have me around. I think I'll always have the nagging belief that I'm an annoyance that needs to apologize for existing and wanting to spend time with you. Because multiple people now have treated me like a nuisance when I've just wanted to do simple things together. I don't demand time. I ask in advance to schedule. I'm polite about asking, and I'm respectful when I'm declined. But it's still stung and stuck with me. I think it always will. Story 44. How I look at other girls now. My first 2 girlfriends cheated on me not even a month into the relationship. And me, as a naive and innocent teenager, I was in love to the moon. And that changed pretty fast. Also, all other experiences with other girls weren't the best. I always thought there was going to be something, and then boom, no more contact. Ever again. They were all chatting with me because they were bored. Messed up. Story 45. Nothing was ruined, but only eventually. First, I had to work through all my own business, strengthening myself where I learned there were weaknesses, learned in that intimate way that only being in a relationship can teach you. It takes 2 to tango, as they say. Some were hard lessons, but helped me to identify and purge what was picked up from mimicking the bad habits of others, mimicking unconsciously to the point I thought those habits belonged to me. I thank my ex with all my heart, but from afar since we have no contact, for participating with such intensity and dedication in my journey, for showing me my limits, my flaws, and helping me learn self-respect. One step towards which was leaving. Wishing you all healing. Story 46. Hope forever being something more than a mother, wallet, and a maid. 2 of my exes treated me like that, and ever since, trying so hard not to be the motherly type. I'm failing again because my current boyfriend started to do the same when we moved in together. I don't know if I can ever escape. I love him, but it's so hard sometimes. I want to be protected, not to be the protector. I want to be provided for, not provide, and I just don't want to be cleaning and cooking all the time to then be asked to split the bill on lunch. Story 47. Life. She ruined my entire life. I got together with her when I was 23. I was always bad at trying to date. Never knew what to say. So she was my first girlfriend. She lived abroad, and after a year together long distance, I moved to her country. After 4 years together, everything was going well. Then, after 7 years, she changed, entirely changed. Her behavior, preferences, hobbies, she just reinvented herself. I adapted to her because I loved her, but it seems that she wanted to change boyfriends too. I was still a boyfriend because she never wanted to get married or have kids. Her choice, more than mine. Took 3 more years for me to discover it when she cheated with 2 guys. At once. Yes, a triad. So apart from one friend I was still hanging with, I realized I didn't have a life in that country apart from her. I left and moved back to my country of origin, only to find that all the friends I saw only when I was on vacation back in my country of origin got used to not having me around and didn't really want me around most of the time. So now, not only am I crap at talking to women, but the things she said when I discovered she cheated on me still resonate in my head and make me not even want to try. But yeah, I've never been with any other woman since she left me. Not even for one night. So I just have crappy jobs that don't pay and I spend my time alone on the internet. I complain a lot, don't I? Story 48. Ruin isn't the best word. However, due to my last relationship, my previous freedom, confidence, and openness in my enjoyment of intimacy will take time to return. Now I feel apprehension, shame, and mistrust at times with my current partner who is dealing with his own issues. I don't feel my ex ruined it for me permanently, but definitely changed things in a way I trust people with vulnerable parts of myself. The ex may have set me back a bit, but ultimately I know who I am and what I'm about in a relationship. Wounds just take time to heal. To anyone else dealing with something similar, be kind to yourself and don't let any part of you that someone else hurt just end. Takes time. Story 49. Raising a child that felt safe and loved. The moment we separated households, he began a campaign against me, lying to our 8-year-old daughter about why we split. He told her I was cheating with my now husband. I didn't cheat. I didn't meet my current spouse until the divorce was finalized. We split because he was using substance and I couldn't stand by him for rehab stint number 3 and year number 5 of unemployment. I refused to bad talk him and he took advantage of my willingness to withhold information from her by filling it with lies. My daughter slowly pulled away from me during that time. I didn't know for years that he was doing all of that, only that my relationship with her changed. Eventually, she told me everything and we started going to therapy. He eventually turned on her too and she refused to hate me. She no longer speaks to him even though I've made it clear that I wish him well and I would support her if she did. Story 50. Binging on junk food and Uber Eats. Our favorite thing to do together was eat crap and watch anime. I didn't realize or care back then, but I was gaining weight like crazy and my health was deteriorating fast. Who cares if you have love though, right? And one day, after a 2-year relationship, he completely ghosts me and I later find out that he moved back in with his ex-girlfriend abroad. The breakup was the kick in the teeth I needed to get my life back together. I was so angry at him that even the thought of eating junk food or even hearing Uber Eats disgusts me to this day. It's been a year and I haven't had a single binge or pig out or any overly processed foods. I've since lost 40 pounds, with more to go. I'm training for a 5K, I'm back in school, making new friends, and for the first time in my life, I'm finding joy and satisfaction outside of food. I've never felt this healthy and happy in my life. It's weird. I struggled with obesity and a binge eating disorder my entire life, and it took a really crappy and humiliating breakup to change something in me. I should have dated schmucks sooner. Lol. So, yeah. Thank you, ex. You single-handedly fixed my junk food habits. Story 51. My ex ruined love for me. No matter how long it's been, 7 years, no matter how many people I started talking to since we ended, I never truly loved them. I feel like crap saying it, but it's always true. I strongly care for them, but if I really sit down and try to feel a strong love for them, it's never there. I took a break to heal. I went celibate for a while, but I can't love. It's insane because I no longer love my ex, but I just can't stop. What is wrong with me? Shaking my head. Story 52. Having a night out at a bar with anyone I dated. We weren't even in an actual relationship. It was just a friends with benefits kind of thing. She knew back then that I was very susceptible to overdrinking and took advantage of it. I don't recall the night, but I recall waking up in her bed after repeatedly telling her we were done before I started drinking. I've gotten better with my drinking, but never again will I feel comfortable having a beer with anyone I don't view as a family member. Story 53. My will to fight for what I want. She was a control freak and wanted everything just so in her way. If I wanted anything different, it was an argument. In the early days, I enabled it, thinking it was good to make her happy. Over 20 years, it became normal. After we split and I moved, I was shopping for things I needed for the new house. I was putting stuff back on the shelf as I was thinking, that won't fly. Then I realized, my house, I want it, get it. 3 years on, I'm still doing things like that, but I work hard to avoid an argument at all costs. Story 54. When I was a teenager, I found this spot in a rock cliff overlooking the ocean at a place my parents took us on vacation every year. It was peaceful, and I could watch the waves crash from the rocks below. When I was 18, I took my now ex-husband, but boyfriend at the time there, and he climbed down to the rocks below and wouldn't stop playing around. I didn't go back there again. For my 40th birthday, I asked my partner to take me to that city and I showed him that spot. That man sat with me there for an hour, quietly, just watching the waves, only responding if I talked, enjoying it and not moving or complaining. I cried. I hadn't realized that I'd let my ex ruin it for me until this man fixed it for me. Story 55. Singing in the car or while I'm alone, period. They had voice recorders in my car and all over my house. Not sure how many years they listened, but I eventually found out they were also hacked into all my online accounts for years. So every bank transaction, conversation, email, etc. This went on for 2 years after we broke up. I found out, and it was a domino effect of all the hacking and stalking they had done during and after our relationship. Story 56. My career and my reputation within my career. She was extremely manipulative and wanted to advance her career by throwing me under the bus. She even threatened to end it all if I didn't do certain things. We worked together, and she did everything to ensure I felt comfortable coming to work. I had a hard time returning to my field and starting over. I will never date someone I work with in my field. She even slept with one of my coworkers and played the victim card to garner some protection. Story 57. My desire to share my life in space with someone. The last few relationships I've had, I feel like they've just taken over and over again with nothing in return. Required a lot of bending from me and none from them. Before I was terrified of being alone, which led me to stay in some really unhealthy relationships. Now that I'm happy and confident on my own, the last thing I want to do is disrupt that peace and happiness. Story 58. Trusting that people are honest with their intentions. I talked to a guy for a good month and a half, and we did everything you do in a relationship, and we even talked about it. and he pretty much told me that he had intentions of dating me. When I thought he was going to ask me to be his girlfriend, he ended up telling me that he lost interest 2 weeks after we had intimacy and he only wanted it to be casual and lighthearted. After not being honest about it, absolute waste of time and energy. Story 59. Trust in my own judgment and the belief that I have control over my life. I was so sure that he was the greatest man in the world. With 4 young children and 13 years of marriage, had a long-term affair and started acting like a teenager. I stayed open to fixing things through a year of hell while he sorted out his life. When I decided I was done, I was done. 2 weeks later, he came back begging, sobbing, groveling. I told him I have nothing left to offer him, that everyone has their limit, and I hit mine. It's been 40 years and my children still deal with the ramifications of his choices. I've always had peace from knowing that I gave it all for my children. But of course, there was still more pain than I would wish on anyone. Well, if you like these stories, here's more. YouTube thinks you're going to love this. Catch you in that video.